6 o'clock. Everybody please rise. Councilman Vehil is going to lead us in vacation tonight, and Councilman Evans will lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for this wonderful city that we live in. We pray for your blessings as we discuss our city business. In your name, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please have a seat. Thank you everybody for being here tonight. Thank you for those who are on internet with us too. I wish I could see everybody's face, but obviously I can't. But yes, I thank everybody for being here tonight. It's been a great night. Okay. We have no public comment scheduled, so we can go from there. Get to the adoption of the minutes. I entertain a motion to adopt both sets of minutes, May the 2nd, 2023, and May 16th, 2023 council work session. To adopt them as written, or unless somebody has any changes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt the minutes as written.
Second. A motion, I have a second. Any discussion from anyone?
No.
Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Passes, thank you very much. And no old business tonight, so new business, we have proclamation for Rolling Thunder Incorporated. These are people I'm so impressed with. Ever since I've known them, I've been impressed with them. They support the cities, they support the police, they support the fire department, they support veterans. I mean, it's everything. And they're out there on their own. They don't get a nickel for doing it, spend their own money. But I can't say any more than that. Councilman Vehil, you want to read the proclamation?
Yes, sir. We have a proclamation from the city of Centerville. Whereas the major function of Rolling Thunder, Inc. is to publicize the POW MIA issue and to educate the public that many American prisoners of war were left behind. Whereas to help correct the past and to protect future veterans from being left behind, and should they become prisoners of war, missing in action. Whereas we are also committed to helping American veterans from all wars. Whereas Rolling Thunder, Inc. is a nonprofit organization and everyone donates his or her time because they believe in the POW MIA issue. Whereas a grateful nation, we owe it to all who put on the uniform of the United States to remain unwavering in our promise to them. With hearts full of love, families carry on with an unfillable void, and we can stand beside them and one and all, acutely aware of the cost at which liberty comes today and every day. Let us renew our pledge to never stop working to bring home the ones they love to the land they risk everything to protect. In witness, Mayor John Harvey. Thank you. So we'd like for y'all to come up so we can present you the proclamation.
You guys want to come back? Who's the spokesman? Kristen, okay. All right, Kristen, you need to come over here too then.
Circle around us.
So I'll get around here. Okay?
All back. Go ahead. Act like you like each other. All that stuff.
We do like each other. All right. I really like this guy.
There you go. Alright, so here, all three. 1, 2, 3. And then I've got this one here. So on 3, 1, 2.
Smart. Like,
Okay, there we go.
we'll send something special to you guys also.
I know.
This is, a large thing we said, I wanna give to a few people, but a few people get it, and you guys deserve more than anybody else.
All right.
One, two, three. One more. One, two, three.
All right.
Well, Mayor, thank you so much. This is a true high honor for us, and the city of Centerville has supported us for multiple years. Always flying the POW MIA flag daily. They have the chair of honor here in their city hall, so when you do leave the meeting tonight, to your right, it's out there. And like again, we can't thank you enough because it's more than just a flag. It's more than just a chair. It means so much to these families to know that they're never forgotten. In fact, on Memorial Day, we went down to Andersonville because one of Georgia's MIAs from Americas, Georgia, was accounted for 72 years later. And he fought in the Korean War and was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. So it was the most heart-gripping thing and a true high honor for us. So, but again, Mayor, thank you so much. This means so
We
much.
thank you so much too. I thank everybody here. Oh, yeah. Say, you too, man. Thank you.
Good rest of your meeting.
Y'all got to be close. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much. We have our meeting now.
Oh, yeah. Us too. Thanks, guys.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
That's right.
So I recently had an opportunity, one of the things I go to, which is a fair number of things, to listen to an update on the literacy program over here in Centerville, which is undertaken by our very own Rotary Club, here at the Centerville Rotary Club. So I asked Kathy Hart, who's the chairman of that program over there, to actually get up here and tell us, explain to us exactly what you've done. So Ms. Hart, if you'd come up and do that, I appreciate you very much.
Can everyone hear me? I think I'm pretty mouthy.
No, you good.
I brought a little storyboard here tonight. We're talking about the Read United program, which is something that Centerville Rotary partners with United Way of Central Georgia. They have been a blessing in this community because when we showed an interest that our Rotary Club wanted to start this up at Centerville Elementary, they came in and trained us. They provided the curriculum that we followed. And we had a problem in Houston County. We still do. The problem is too many third graders can't read when they leave third grade. They're 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. First through 3rd grade, you learn to read. After 3rd grade, you read to learn. If you can't read, you can't learn. Houston County is a little better off than a lot of counties. Statewide, the number is only 35% of 3rd graders are proficient at reading when they go into 4th grade. Houston County is a little bit better at 50%. Why can't the school just fix it? Well, there are several reasons. Too many are left behind, especially in lower income school zones. You have, whose fault is it? Poverty, broken homes, drug addiction, and then you have adults or parents who can't read. So you have adult literacy. So we are addressing many areas of Houston County to include Centerville. And in this, we have GED scholarships. We provide 48 testing scholarships, vouchers, through our Rotary Club every year for adult literacy. We've been working on that we've been writing a grant for it to help. We pay part of it and the grant pays part of it, because if someone wants to test for their GED test, bear in mind, they're low-income employees. And so it costs $160 to sit down and take that test. How many people who are low income have that amount of money left over to take a test? So we try to help those who can't afford it. We also donate books. Every week when our speakers come to Rotary, we have them sign a book or write a few words of encouragement to your Centerville Elementary students, and we present those books to your library here. So we're working in many areas. We also give $400 a year to the Museum of Aviation for their STEM program, interactive reading. But getting back to Read United, this has been a blessing for our community. It started a while back in Bibb County, but in 2018, we got it started in Centerville. And we have been going full force. So much so that United Way of Central Georgia uses our program as a basis of what they want the other programs to be. So this year, Morningside Elementary in Perry started their program because we went and talked to Perry Rotary Club. We are hoping to get this all over our area, to get these kids ready to go to 4th grade. Last year, we helped 32 to 34 get to grade level or above. My 2 students this year were reading on a 4th grade level when they left. And I'm saying, you go for it. Once you get them comfortable, they don't want to give up. So I'm watching this happen at Centerville Elementary, and I'm really excited about it. So we're just going to keep on trucking until we get them all up to par. You want a community that's workforce ready. That's very, very important, particularly in a community where Roberts Air Force Base is our largest employer. So you want to have these kids ready, interested in STEM, whatever they can do to make a living in this community and keep our base vital. Reading is the key to success. We have had the Georgia State Superintendent of Schools come and visit and sit through our session at Centerville Elementary. We've had 2 Rotary District governors come and sit with us and watch us while we work with your kids. They are all so amazed that Waylon Smith, this is his poster child, Read United. He's the one that brought it to us. I brought the GED because I started that back in 1997 when Governor Zell Miller started the Certified Literate Community Program. So anything to do with literacy, I love. So we're going to keep on moving forward, and we hope that someday if you run across George McCandless at United Way, I keep thinking, keep wanting to say telegraph because that's. But anyway, if you run across him, tell him how grateful you are that this program is such a star in Centerville. If you run into Central Georgia Technical College, tell them how grateful you are that they've worked with us to get the adults to GED status. And just let you know that we love Centerville and we're going to keep on working with your community. So with that being said, do you have any questions? No?
I was just so impressed with the United Way. I mean, she got a standing ovation for everybody. That's Centerville. You know, that's Centerville in the center of all that. And basically, it's a Rotary and Kathy in the middle of the Rotary. I know there's others there too who every week over there in the school year and talk to and teach the kids how to.
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
We go into they've given us a classroom at the school, and twice a week we go in and we have different volunteers that go in and read with the kids almost all day long, the whole school day. And so out of a 20-member Rotary Club, we're very small, but we're mighty. We have about 16 to 17 Rotarians that volunteer every week. And I've been doing it since 2018, and the only time we didn't do it was during 2020 when COVID had us where we couldn't get into the schools with the kids. But as soon as we could mask up and go in, we went.
You'll walk from stage if you want to.
I'm gonna let my assistant.
I'm the prop man.
Dan, it's always good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening.
That's awesome.
Isn't that wonderful? I mean, I'm just so proud of them for what they do.
Come on back to Rotary.
I got to
Okay.
get some time now.
Bye-bye.
All right, item number 5 here is a public hearing of fiscal year 2024 recommended budget.
Mayor, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Would it be appropriate to move items number 6 and 7 before item number 5, since I think they directly reflect that, that public hearing, if we're gonna present information
Okay.
on the budget, should we, so.
Yeah, it won't hurt to do it. We'll make that,
So,
make number 5, number 7,
yeah,
and 6 and 7 be 5 and 6.
and I'll make that motion if we need to vote on it.
Yeah,
Would be
motion.
appropriate.
Move that we make items number 6 and number 7, number 5 and number 6, and make number 5, number 7 sold to the man in the back. Funny hat.
You have a motion, have a second?
Second.
And a second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, we're gonna do it. So, the new item 5 is discussion reduction to proposed budget.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm glad we got a chance to discuss the budget tonight and have a little bit of a public hearing. And here it looks like we may have some folks in here tonight, so maybe we get to have a little feedback from some folks. I know in your packet tonight, I see we have a highlight sheet that lists some of the particulars. I believe that's available over here as well. But just a couple of things I wanted to bring up before we have a discussion about it. The original budget proposal, I think we've made a few changes here and there, but the original budget proposal amounted to a 12% increase in the city budget from last year's budget. And again, the math has come up and down a bit as we move items and programs in and out. But at last tally, we were plus or minus a little over $1 million over our projected revenues with the current proposed budget. Again, that number might not be exact because we're actively still working on it. We're still in part of the budget process, but I just want to read real quick. This is, and Krista, if you want to write this down, this is from Section 2-404, Part D of the City Code of Ordinances for the City of Centerville, and it reads, the City Council shall not make any appropriations in excess of any estimated revenue except to provide for an actual emergency threatening the health, property, or lives, safety, or general welfare of the inhabitants of the city, which emergency shall be declared by the affirmative vote of 3 members of the council. We've certainly not had any such motion or vote. On May the 19th, I sent a memorandum to mayor and council and all the department heads. It's in your packet tonight, and it's also available here on the table as well, recommended a couple of reductions to the proposed budget. To talk a little bit about revenue, just because that's not as clear on some of these sheets as it is to me. Included in the projected revenue that we're, again, well beyond with this current budget is $566,000 in ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act money. That's some federal money that got pushed down with COVID. So right now we're using that $566,000 to bolster our income. The reason I bring that up is just to point out that that money is gone after this year. That's not a recurring fund. We don't have access to those funds after this year. We're also transferring $555,000 from water and sewer, which again is common. That is the purpose of the water and sewer fund, although I think that we at times make larger transfers than I think that certainly I would prefer. It also includes making a $255,000 transfer just from the general fund balance in order to balance this budget. I know earlier this year we had an item come across the agenda, a proposed increase in the millage rate, and council voted that millage rate down. I just want to make it clear that if you run the numbers on this, had we approved that tax increase, it nets a certain amount of funds. If you add those funds with the ARPA money, with the water sewer, with the general fund, with our projected revenues, even if you add in the projected increase of revenues from the tax assessment that the county graced us with here recently, this budget is still about $300,000 over budget. And so I think part of this discussion tonight is going to have to be the millage rate, it's going to have to be the tax rate. And I think that the greater problem is a budget that is just a little over its skis. Understand on May the 30th that the mayor and Councilman Armijo called a meeting with the department heads to discuss the budget, which is not unusual. They're the budget committee for this year. I guess I understand that during the course of this meeting, they were asking department heads to explain and to justify some of their budget requests, which I can't help but wonder why we had budget committee meetings if we were going to call all the department heads back and ask them to explain themselves a second time. And I came to my attention, I guess, last night that during that meeting, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but the Councilor Armijo asked Shannon Bryant to prepare a presentation using data from various department heads to justify sort of why we're doing some of these increases. And the reason I bring that up is because that performance presentation is listed under my name, even though I didn't request that proposal. I guess I'm the councilman over that department, and since they asked Shannon to do it, they put it under my name. But I do think it puts Shannon in an awkward position because it makes it appear as if she is lobbying for these increases. And she was just asked to put the data together. They're not her ideas. That's just what was put forward. So I think we need to ask whether or not that's something that is useful and necessary. So I did put forward some proposed reductions. You can read them in this memorandum. I know you've all read them because we discussed them via email and at other times. But my position would still be that we need to put forward a balanced budget. In fact, I believe we're required to by the Code of City Ordinances unless there is an emergency. I don't believe that we can argue for that. It appears to me that the budget process here was carried out a little bit backwards, that we decided what we wanted to spend and then went out to see what kind of money we had rather than approaching it the other way. I think that it is a dubious idea to consider making these changes to pass this large of a budget with the economy on a little bit of shaky ground. We do need to understand that if we pass the budget as it stands, which I believe that at least some of the members of the council are in favor of doing, that I don't mathematically see a way for us to pass this budget without it compelling us by law to increase the tax rate. We're required by state law to have a balanced budget. We have to account for all of this revenue. I don't think it is the right time to do that. I think that you're going to hear in just a minute about maybe some potential justifications. But I think that the City Budget Committee should adopt a budget that more closely conforms to our current revenues. That we should use this 5-year plan data, that if we make all the department heads make these 5-year plans, we should use them when we are going through the budget and planning a little more long term than what do we need today and trying to spend that money tomorrow. I think that puts us in a difficult position. I don't believe we should use the budget to hold a gun to the millage rate and say that now because we passed this budget that now we have to increase the millage rate. I think we need to be cautious if we try to equate maintaining the current level of services with losing services. If we maintain the current level of services that we provide, we are not losing services, we are leaving them the same. And I don't believe we should make this pretty drastic 12% increase to the budget all at once. And I want to make a distinction. I think all of the items in this budget are important. I don't think any department head put anything in this budget because they just thought it would be a neat idea. I think they're all important. But I think with the revenue of the city, with the current economy, with the cost of living for everybody right now, that while all of these items are important, some of them are not urgent. And it is up to the mayor and council to determine which is which. I think we can and we should wait on some of these items. We should wait on some of the growth that we expect from the growth of the city. We should wait on the stability of the current economy to settle down a little bit, and certainly some political uncertainty that we face in the next couple of years, some of the upcoming elections, and then we can develop a more informed decision on some of this growth that we do need to prepare for. I think that I hope that we have a spirited discussion about it tonight. I think after all I've said there's no chance that we won't. But I think that those are some of the things that I think we should look at before we move forward with adoption of the current budget. I know that Mayor, at one point you said that you would prefer just to pass the budget as it stands and then we can go back and amend it later if we need to. I think that is the reverse of the way I would prefer to do that. I think we should adopt what we know that we need to spend, and if we need to come back and add more, we can amend it. I don't know that I've ever seen ours or any government amend their budget to take it down. I think we'll be in a better position if we approach it from that direction. So I guess if that is item number 5, those are the points that I wanted to bring forward, and I welcome the discussion.
Number one, the budget committee doesn't make any decisions. We just present a proposed budget. It's up to the mayor and council, all of us, to make a decision.
Sure. So
you wouldn't incorrect the same, we made that decision. Number 2, we looked at every department separately. Okay, after we get through all the departments, then we see what the total is. At that point, we don't know where we can cut or consider cutting or not cutting or what have you. So that's what we did when we went again. Okay? Now, whether that's normally done when you on the committee, I don't know. So that's the way we did it. When we did that, we went through and we were able to take on another $266,000, I think it was, out of the budget. And that dropped it down considerably. So money you're talking about coming from, that dropped it down considerably, let's put it that way. Already.
Can I say something?
Yeah, just a minute. I did a little thing here, and I believe there's copies of it out there for you to look at. You can see that our tax revenue over the last 5 years basically has been level. At the same time, over the last 5 years, we've had a tremendous increase in population, people out there. We've had a big increase in land use over here. We've had an increase in businesses. More demand on services is what I'm saying. And we haven't grown with that. But instead, what we did last year, I guess my advice, but all of us are in on it. We dropped our mills rate 1.6%, 1.6 mills rate. And we made it through the year, cut out a lot of things. We have a 5-year budget plan. You look at the 5-year budget and see what's in there. We should be having more policemen at this point. We should be having more firemen. We don't have them. Although in this budget we're showing we are going to get 2 more firemen. That'll help get us up to a point where we can have a better credit rating for the city, number one, and more opportunity to go out and protect our people. Just we got bigger places to protect. The other thing to keep in mind, he's talking about future. We have hundreds of new homes being built in the city. Okay, and his idea, I guess, is to wait until we get them built and say, okay, now this will get more policemen, this will get more firemen. You don't do that overnight. You gotta plan for it ahead of time. You gotta be ready for it when it occurs out there. So that's my point on that. Now, just a, Councilman Weaver?
Okay, so, I had a difficult time in listening to this because I felt that, Councilman Wright was misleading the public. And I don't like.
You better back that up.
Let me finish.
That's a strong statement, Ed. You better back it up.
Let me finish. Okay? You had your turn to speak, I have my turn to speak. Now, everybody, not everybody knows this, but it's public knowledge, that there's a schedule out of what we do and when we do it for any budget committee for any time of year. For Councilman Wright to suggest that the budget committee, namely who he named, was myself, as the person who called the committee together to ask for justification from the department heads, was false. Because the meeting was called as part of the schedule that we have to discuss and rediscuss the budget. Okay, it's a schedule, it's a date, it's a requirement, it's something that's set out to the public to see. Okay? Nothing was planned to scramble, to ask for questions, none of that stuff, right? This is plain and simple.
Is there a meeting for May 30th on that schedule? I don't have that copy of that. Is there a meeting for May 30th on that list?
Can I finish?
Let me finish. You didn't
I
interrupt me.
don't want to get personal, I'm just saying, you know, well, I mean,
You said that I misled the public, but you don't want to get personal, but proceed.
well, let me finish. Okay, so, the first thing that was stated several weeks ago in a city council meeting was that the mayor and I were just sitting there approving everything that came to the budget committee, which was also false. When in previous years, when the department heads came to the meetings, they were basically informed that we want you to stay as close to your budget as possible, even less than what you have. Don't come to me with any kind of requirements or demands or whatever. Give me what I want to hear so we can balance the budget, not what you need, what requirements you have. The city has grown. There's no question about it. The city's grown. The needs for a larger department, more people, more equipment, the infrastructure of the city needs to grow. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that we sat back and said, yeah, go ahead and build them up to the sky, right? We didn't say that. This was a logical process that was discussed and thought through. We plan on having a planning committee in January after the budget, after everything's done, to discuss further with the public what the vision is for the city of Centerville, to include our budget requirements, our manpower requirements, and what is it that we need to do to continue growing. A city can't just sit in a pond and not grow. It's just going to be stale water. The fish are going to die. Right? So you have to keep things going. The idea that we wanted to spend the money and ask for the justification later, anybody in their right mind knows that's not how anybody does business. The city doesn't run like that. Your personal finances do not run like that. We don't run like that. To suggest, right off the bat, the whole purpose of this meeting is to discuss the budget, to explain to you where we are in terms of each of the departments and what requirements that we have. That was the intent of this meeting. The intent of this meeting is not to tell you that we're going to raise the millage rate and we're going to do this and that and whatever. We haven't got even to that point of decision making. We have not heard from the public yet. I mean, we don't make any of those decisions without first laying out the plan, letting the public have their opinion on things and suggestions, going back to the board according to the schedule, and discussing after we have this first hearing what we should or shouldn't do, and then go from there. Trust me. The last thing anybody wants to do is be reckless with the budget. That's not what we do. The thing that I've heard, the common theme I've heard from Councilman Wright has been that he wants to leave everything the same. He wants to leave everything alone. He doesn't want growth. He stated that he wants to wait until we see the effects of the city. I don't know what effects you're going to see from a city that's not growing. He wants to wait for to hear about our national politics. National politics is going to be here forever. I mean, you can't wait all the time for things. Sometimes you have to be, and this is what we're elected to do. We're elected to represent you, the citizens. We're elected to take and consider everything that's involved here and try to make a decision that is fair and equitable across the city to protect the citizens, right? I mean, everything, and I don't know if any of you were here last Friday at the food market out here at the park. That park was maxed up. There was so many people there, it wasn't even funny. And they were enjoying what our community is able to put on. And in order for our community to grow, we need to continue these types of events and activities. For, you know, growth is important. We would not have ever got the fire station had we not elected to vote to move forward and get it. It did cost us a little money, but guess what? We've got a safe place for our fire department to work and live from. Was Councilman Wright in full favor of that when we went to go do that? He wanted to wait. I know it sounds like a political, speech or whatever, but it's not political speech. I'm trying to tell you that this city needs to take a look. We, as a governing body, has to take a look at this city as a whole and make difficult decisions as to whether or not we're going to be sitting still and providing adequate services or doing something about it and being smart about it, being rational about it, thinking about it, talking to you about it, listening to what you have to say about it, and taking those into consideration, because the budget committee is going to meet again. And when they do meet again, before we come up to the final budget, everything is taken into consideration. Nothing's off the table. So, before we pull out the big guns and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, that's putting the cart before the horse. That's not how we do business. So, as I said, we have a schedule. We're following it, just as we have said we would. It's the law. We're following it. We're going to be consulting with our citizens about their concerns, about what we can and can't do, and we're going to stay within the law. We're still going to do what we need to do because it's important for our city. It's important for our citizens to have the right level of protection, whether it's fire protection, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's public works, whatever it takes that we need to do to keep the city moving forward, we have to do. We can't afford not to do that. So I just ask you to put your trust in us. Understand that we're here and we're citizens too. We live here too. And we care about our city. We care about our citizens. And even though we may have differences of opinion, and that's fine, the point is that the work's not over. The discussions are still going to occur, and we're looking forward to hear from you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I ask a question? I don't have the copy of that budget. I know the document you're talking about. I just don't have it in front of me. Is there a meeting scheduled for May 30th?
I call that.
So let me just to address something that Councilor Armijo said a second ago. Previously, when I talked about that meeting, I didn't say that he called it. I said that both of you called it because I have an email right here that says Mayor Harley and Councilor Armijo would like to meet with department heads May 30th. And in fact, I didn't mislead anybody. In fact, I said 2 or 3 times that's completely appropriate for the budget committee to do. So I don't know why you took a particular aversion to that. Hang on. I would ask you again to remember, I think you were quoted about half of what I said on some of those things there. When we said we wanted to wait on the fire station, we didn't say we wanted to wait on the fire station. We said we want to know why the fire station suddenly increased in cost by, I believe it was $1.3 million. And we wanted to have an answer for that. Hang on. And we asked the city engineer, and they came back and said that there's a new development with the stormwater that they required us to do these underground tanks, and it bumped up the price by $1.3 million. And we said, okay, that makes sense. Let's do it. It wasn't wanting to wait for anything to happen. It was, why is there an extra $1.3 million here? And when we got the explanation, we voted on it, and it was fine. It is not that I want to wait indefinitely or I want to hope, but we're placing a lot of expenditure and a lot of hope on these new housing developments that are being built. And as I said in my memo and the email that was attached to it, it is my sincere hope that they are built because that is what is best for the city. But the last time we saw a housing market like this one was 05, 06, 07. And there are housing developments in the city of Centerville. Collins Estates is half finished because they were building it during an economy just like this one, and the market tanked, and it sat half empty for 15 years. It is my hope that those houses get built, but I don't know. And I know we say we don't have time to wait to fill these positions. Chief, are we 100% full with our positions in the police department? We don't have to fill the positions that we have. We don't have a tremendous hard time hiring firefighters because Chief Jones has a great program. So do you, Chief. I'm not taking away from you on that. Law enforcement is a tough nut to crack right now. You're doing an excellent job. But I don't believe that if we made some positions available that we would have a horrendously difficult time filling them. Chief, how many positions do you have open right now?
Currently none.
Thank you. My question is, and you said we don't just do that. We don't just pass these things. This is not a part of the process yet. The mayor said to us in an email this week, I propose we pass it as it's submitted. We can hold off on implementing some of it until we review the millage rate. And at that point, we can go back and modify the budget as needed. Why pass it as written, knowing that it's more money than we have to spend? Why not pass it with the money we have to spend? And then if we have an increase in revenues or we have an emergency, let's go back and amend the budget and spend it. Why put it on the credit card and try to pay it off?
We have the money right now.
So
We have to take it out of general fund, but take some out of the other if we did it. If it was kept the same, okay? So it's a balanced budget in a sense, but it's going to put us back in. When I became mayor here, I was elected in 2009, and so in 2010, when I first took over, I found out that we will holding off paying a lot of our bills for sometimes 2 or 3 months because we didn't have the cash in hand. Okay, and I talked to the council about it. I said the city can't go like that, and we're getting that way again. Because then we had a 10.8 millage rate. So we increased it to 12. Well, since then we've done nothing but basically go down on the millage rate until we're down to 10.364. We have we'll increase the cost everywhere. Insurance is going up phenomenally. And all these things are just happening to us. So what I'm saying is, if you look at the graphs and say, you can see we're getting back to where we were back when I first got elected as mayor.
I agree with you with Mr. Mayor, and I see your graph, but I would also point out that as the millage rate has not stayed constant, it's certainly gone back down to some of those levels like you're talking about from 2009. The property values have risen dramatically. So the millage rate that we had in 2009 generates a totally different income value than what we have in 2022. I'm glad you mentioned the insurance and the ISO rating again, because I know that's what we're talking about. We're talking about our credit rating with the fire department. I hate to be the one to keep bringing this up, but a number of the major national home insurance carriers don't recognize an ISO rating. If they do recognize it, they don't recognize one any higher than a 3. What's our ISO rating right now, Chief? 3.
Is that true, Chief?
Yes or no?
Certain insurance companies do not recognize it, some do.
Yeah, that's what I said. Right? That's what I said. Some of them do, some of them don't. The other
They
thing,
do recognize higher than a 3.
Some of them do, but some of them don't. Is that correct? Yeah.
Higher than three is bad.
So,
Any book-
I also think that you have the opportunity, if your particular insurance company is giving you higher rates because of that rating, you have the opportunity to go around and shop for a home insurance provider. You cannot go around and shop for a tax rate. You have to pay the rate that is compelled for you to pay by the city. And I think that this is another one where we hope if we raise that rating, we hope they give us less money. We don't know that that's going to happen. The same thing with these hundreds of new homes we're building. Again, we hope that they're going to get built. I think that, again, I said everything that is in this budget is important. I think our fundamental disagreement is on the urgency of many of these things. And if a 12% budget increase is off the charts, that's a tremendous increase in the city budget. Biggest one that I bet the city has ever had.
It's just like I said, Councilman Wright, is that the budget reviews in process. Nothing's final until we vote. So you can sit there and burn forces down left and right and throw out accusations, but the truth of the matter is not done.
You know, I don't think
when we get to that point, then we can talk about what we're talking.
I don't think I've made any accusations in particular. I have heard you say "trust me" 4 times, and I was always raised that when somebody has to keep telling you to trust them that many times, it's something to keep an eye on.
Sure.
But I will say that any way you want to slice it, 12% is a huge increase, and I think that we have been saying in internal discussions, let's just pass it. We're going to get this budget through. And I heard us say in the budget committee we did make some cuts. And I asked this 2 weeks ago, I never got an answer. Can somebody provide for us some examples of some of the things? I know that I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I talked with a couple of department heads that said they didn't cut anything out of my budget. So I'd like to know what we cut out of it. I heard somebody say maybe we cut some out of the city travel budget for the elected body. I think we could cut it 10 times and not really scratch the issue here. So I'd like to hear what some of those cuts are that we're saying that we made. Again, I wasn't in any of those meetings. I didn't make any accusations against anybody. The only reason that I said that you requested that this presentation be made is because that's what I was told happened in the meeting. Is that incorrect? If it's incorrect, tell me. I wasn't there.
Well, again, the way you framed it, that this individual was told to do it and she's put on the spot. No, she volunteered to do it, number one. And number two is when we had the conversation with the department heads, she said she would do the presentation and help us. So, yeah. So again, you know, this is you speaking out of your tongue, not mine. And so, for what it's worth, that's fine. All I'm saying is, and what I'd like to do, Mayor, at this point, I'd like to really move on to the public comments because that's why they're here.
I have a comment before we go, Mr. Mayor. I haven't been on the city council quite as long as you, Mr. Mayor. I've only been here since 2015, about 8 years. And I've sat through the budget process all of those years. And this city council has done a good job for our citizens. It has been fiscally responsible. We've been able to provide them the services that they expect. You know, if you dial 911, you want a police officer to show up. In this city, it ought to be less than 5 minutes. You don't want him to show up in 15 minutes because he's on another call or something. You want somebody available. That's the goal and the job of this city council. I'm not worried about national politics. I don't serve the nation, I serve the city. So that's where I'm going, okay? I think any money that we spend on public safety, whether it's in fire or police, is money well spent. I want this community to be a community that's safe, that people want to live in. And if I have to spend all the budget to do that, I think the citizens would appreciate that. You know, so, but bottom line is this. We're not talking about the housing market. We're talking about service to the citizens. Again, this city council has been fiscally responsible up until this point. We will continue to be fiscally responsible despite the fact that we reduced our income, even though we still have to provide the same amount of services. If we reduced our income in our home, we would have to do without some things. You know, let's give a good example. So I'm looking at retiring from my job at the end of the year. I know my income is probably gonna get cut in by half. So I'm gonna have to cut back on some of the things that I wanna do. But we can't cut back on the things that we do for our citizens. We have to provide that services. They pay their taxes, whatever that rate is, and they expect their services. We're gonna get through this. Okay? We're gonna provide a budget that will meet the needs for the citizens. Okay? That's what we're gonna do. That's what you expect. So you can count on that. Take it to the bank. Okay? Thanks.
Mayor, I'll ask one more question. We can move on to the next item unless there's more discussion. But if we do as you suggested this week, if we pass this budget as it's written, can we do it without a village agreement?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it'll put us in a really poor shape, so I don't think we should do it for that reason, you know. If we don't think it's gonna be a military reason. But the thing is, I'm not going any further with that. I say,
That's a different.
we have the money in there to pass it right now. We can find the money scraped from all the different areas. All right?
Well, I guess I'm just confused because you said we could do it, but it's a bad idea. But then you said we should do it. So I guess I'm not clear on what your position is on it. But that's why we're having some discussion tonight.
I think I heard him say that we have the funds available to meet the budget.
And then he said, but it would be a really bad idea.
Sure, it would be a tight budget.
Thank you.
Extremely tight budget.
As far as
But we do have the funds available.
if you're ready to move on, Mr. Mayor, as far as this performance presentation, since it's under my name, I would move that we table it indefinitely. I don't know that it's going to provide a lot of value to the discussion, but if you guys want to have Shannon come up here and present those numbers, that's up to you. It's under my name, so my motion would be that we table it indefinitely.
Have you finished with Councilman Byrd? Do you want to say anything?
No, my comments would be better suited to go to the deliberative session in 2 months.
Okay. Thanks.
Have a motion.
Okay, you vote to do it.
We have one. We have a motion to table the new item 6.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Hearing none. We're not gonna take it. We'll keep it going.
So that's
All right.
next.
Next item then will be the performance presentation. Ms. Prime, she's our Director of Economic Development. We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much. This is for the song. I can always see you a visual copy.
I'm just curious.
I guess this is my copy.
Okay, so we really didn't have any real direction as to what we were doing with this presentation. We tossed a lot of ideas around. I just reached out to department heads and said, if you have any information that you would like to have presented, you can get it to me and we'll put it together in some form or fashion and we will talk about it. I did receive input from the municipal court, from fire, from not Parks and Recreation, from water, sewer, public works as well. So I do have that information here in the packet you just received. I tried to separate them out as we go through so that you can tell if we're going between departments. So first of all, municipal court did give me data for the last 2 years. Please understand that fiscal year is only through May 31st for any of this data, so we don't have a complete fiscal year 23 in here. So we can project that some of the numbers will either increase or decrease over the course of this month through the end of the fiscal year. So in comparison, I only listed fiscal year 23's numbers. You will see in the side column there on the right an increase or a decrease. Those numbers are over or under fiscal year 22. We were not able to get police information. There are some issues right now with the Houston County record system. Is that correct, Chief? Being able to access the records, they're having some data issues in the county. So we will correlate, though, all of the tickets that process through municipal court are from our police department. So anything that's seen in municipal court is from
a ticket administered through our police department or a violation through our police department. So you can kind of correlate those numbers to some, certainly not all of the work that the police department has done in the last year. So if we're looking at tickets, you can see that number of DUI tickets has seen an increase of 30%. Marijuana possession, honestly, there's been one less ticket this year. It does show a 2.63 decrease, but the numbers are 38 and 37. Driving with an unlicensed or suspended license, you can see a significant increase in that. Those will come from traffic stops. So we can also take from that we are seeing more traffic stops happening, which is showing more tickets being processed. Shoplifting in 22, not one ticket was administered for that. And fiscal year 23, we have had 11 administered so far in this year. City ordinance, we did see a decrease. I think it's important to note that we have not had a code enforcement officer, a full-time code enforcement officer in place. That has just kind of been rotated through officers on shift as calls would come in or issues would come up. We do now have a code enforcement officer in place, is that correct? He's out on maternity leave, I believe, right now, but we do have a code enforcement officer full-time. So I do anticipate that those numbers will continue to increase over time as we have someone full-time in that position. For non-traffic citations, you see a decrease. Other traffic citations, very minimal decrease. And again, these numbers will change if we were to pull them at the end of fiscal year. So we would probably see other traffic citations being equal to, if not an increase over fiscal year 22. In total, we did see less than a 1% decrease so far in tickets received through the municipal court by violation. Court adjudications, you can see there, bond forfeitures. We did see a great decrease. What that tells me is that more people decided to go to court than to pay. So they decided to plead their case or to go before the judge, which you can see in all of the numbers here. Each of them increased because there were more cases being seen in the court itself. Dismissals increased, which we could think of as a negative number, I suppose. Guilty verdicts increased, warnings increased significantly, and other penalties or fees increased as well. And we have seen almost 6.57% increase in total over last year for court adjudications. On the next page here, this is Public Works. I'm not going to lie to you, it took me a lot longer than it should have to figure out what these columns mean. Miss Betty got me this information. If you see the columns, those are months by quarter. I thought they were the last 4 digits of account numbers. That's not what they are. So in the 4 columns there, we're starting with June of 22. So through May of this year, I believe I received this on May 31st. So June 1 of 22 through May 31st of this year is where we see these numbers. These are for work orders that were processed through the Public Works Department. I think the big number to look at here is the total overall number. In a year, almost 16,000 work orders were processed through the Public Works Department. The bulk of those were location calls, as well as non-payment. Non-payment cutoffs saw 2,154 work orders. Non-payment reconnects, we saw 1,576, which tells me that some of those non-payments probably abandoned their properties or did not go back into them, as they would not be living without water in those properties, at least not for very long. Also, the most significant number that we saw for the year was rereads of meters during billing. So people who maybe get a bill and it's far more than they expected it to be, they think there could be a leak, there could be a problem, will call in and ask for the department to come out and reread their meter just to make sure that the billing is correct and that if there is a problem, is it on their side or the city's side, and how do we get that fixed? So those are honestly the biggest numbers to look at here. If you have questions about any of these, of course, we can go over them. I just think that those are the most important to highlight. I will also say that pretty much quarter over quarter, we're seeing the same kind of activity happening here. There's not any part of the year where the numbers are greatly outweighing any other part of the year. It's pretty consistent throughout the year as to work orders coming in there. for Public Works. And then the next few pages are all fire department. So there's 4 pages total for the fire department. The first page you see here is going to be incidents responded to. It is important to note that this graph is done on a calendar year, January to December. This was given to me end of May, so that's 5 months in the year. At that point for this year, the fire department had responded to 485 incidents over 5 months. That comes out to almost 100 a month. At that rate, we are looking at an average of 1,200 calls responded to for the year, assuming that the track stays as it has for those first 5 months. If you look at the next chart, it's a little bar graph, a line chart, that's what these are called. This is again a calendar year chart. This is for overlapping incidents responded to. And Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's if there is that the same incident called in twice, or is that 2 issues at one incident?
2 issues at once.
So if someone's having heart compressions and their house is on fire, would that be an overlapping incident?
That's a bad day.
That's a real bad day. But would that be
2
considered?
separate incidents at the same time.
So would that be 2 separate firemen responding?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Our resources spreading thin, going to different areas of the city.
And they can't go with just one person.
Absolutely.
So you'll see here, the line is red. The black line that you see, that is the time that we're discussing from 2022 into 2023, that small black line. So you'll see that there has been an increase over time from 2022 into 2023, where incidents responded to was an overlap for the fire department. And the projections, of course, here go out a good ways, but the implication is that over time, that will continue to increase. As we've already said, our population will increase, incidents will also increase. Another thing to point out is that as our population ages, they have typically more health calls. So we do have an aging population here, and so that is something to take into effect as we look into the future and account for numbers there as well.
Chief, would you say most of these overlapping calls are where you have, one of these calls is a fire call or one is a medical call, or?
Usually they're on a medical call and it's usually to a fire or a wreck or something like that, or to another medical call. But most of the time we're usually on a medical call. That's usually, it's everything.
I'm sure it's a little bit of everything. Yeah.
A month ago we were on a fire, structure fire, and had another structure fire. So that's.
Would you say that happens pretty regularly? Is that a pretty rare occurrence?
Well, it's projected to be 83 this year. Overlapping calls, we're at 70 right now.
Yeah, and as of May 31st, which was not even a week ago, we were at 66, so we've had 4 happen in a week. Right?
Yep.
Is that, yeah, so 4 in the last week then have happened. So the next...
Sorry, Shannon, is the big dip on this graph, is that COVID?
COVID.
Or just people stop calling as much,
Well,
people are home?
everybody's at home and a lot.
Not as much people driving.
Wrecks,
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so no accidents, no incidents outside the home
Right.
necessarily, probably for a 2-year time span, really there. And then once people got back into everyday life.
Chief, can you talk a little bit about our mutual aid agreements?
Do I now?
Can you talk a little bit about our mutual aid agreements for what would have to happen for if we have an overlapping call for us to call the county or Warren Robins or something like that to come and provide? Do we have a?
We do. All we have to do is call and request.
Mm-hmm. Is that a pretty good working relationship there? Is that pretty effective system?
We did a mutual aid call last night with the county called us.
The county called us last night.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And that is a regular occurrence as well. Things, especially on this side of town that are beyond Centerville towards Byron. I know that's happened a few times out towards 41.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we have responded to calls there that have come from the county. Correct. So the next, this is a bar graph. The next one is a bar graph.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see incident types responded to here. This again is calendar year, January to December. You'll see the color coding at the bottom for the years. So each incident represents 4 years. So fires are represented 2020 through 2023. We've got fires, rescue, and emergency medical, which we can see is the predominant call type that we are responding to, and that is a year-over-year pattern. That's not just a spike once, but that is the norm, certainly not out of the norm. Motor vehicle accident, hazardous conditions where there is no fire, so maybe a spill, something of that nature. Service calls, good intent calls, or wellness checks. Is that? I believe that's what that means. False alarms happen more than we'd like, but they do happen. And then severe weather and natural disaster, which we are very fortunate here that that has not been a major, hardly any issue at all for us. You can see, again, that this is a calendar year. So as of May 31st, which was last week, for these incident types, this is just a different measure of the first graph we looked at. This breaks up the types of incidents, not just the total number. So that number is going to be 45, which matches the first graph that we looked at. And this is just the breakdown of what those types of calls are. Some of them may be the same call. The same call may have more than one incident at it as well. So overlapping. And then if we move on to the final page here, you'll see this is for fire inspection types and activity totals. So this is Chief Cayley and fire inspections, and then Chief as well. I'm sorry, Lieutenant Cayley and Chief Jones. So their inspection types. They do all different types of fire inspections. So this is year over year, again, calendar year numbers we're looking at here. So for 2023, so far, as of May 31st, we've done 34 fire inspections or re-inspections. Re-inspections will often happen if something's not up to code and they're given a list and they have to come back and re-inspect, especially for a business license. They can't get their business license until they're up to code. And so they'll do re-inspections for that. The next line is business license and certificate of occupancy fire inspections, which are along that same line. We've had 4 of those so far this year. Part of that is number being so low is because we don't have a lot of turnover right now in our commercial space. We've not had a lot of new businesses open. Businesses are where they are and they've stayed there. And there's no reason for a certificate of occupancy inspection if a business is already open. Unless there is some incident that occurs, they do an expansion, something like that. They don't just go into existing businesses and do re-inspections. The next line, this 50, 80, 100% fire inspections, those are done through a build. So 50% of a build, 80% of a build, 100% of a build. We've had none of those this year. As you see, we did have 10 last year, so that number goes to homes as well as businesses that were completed in the last year with those inspections. Consultations, we've done 2 of those this year. Pre-incident plan and reviews, you will see zeros for 2020 through 2022. Again, that is a COVID reflection. That was not happening during that time, but for this year, you see that we're already at 65, which has us on track to be at about 140 probably by the end of the year for that number. And then new and existing construction plan reviews, again, that's looking at construction. That's going to be 5 for the year, anticipating more of those coming online as the new construction continues throughout the city, especially to the north of the city. And then we've got a breakdown. Now we're going into fiscal year numbers. So fiscal year 23, this is for fire alarms and fire incidents that have been responded to by the Centerville Fire Department. They have so far had 18 calls, not counting anything that's happened since May 31st. 18 calls, property value that was involved in those fires sits at $16,549,800. Of that amount, the loss is only $26,500 for a property percentage saved of 99.84%, which is very impressive. Fire alarm incidents, so it's a business alarm going off, a home alarm going off, activated through a line that calls into 911 for them or something like that. There have been 93 of those incidents. That property value sits at $624,928,900, and that's 100% safe. So there's not been an active fire there. Those are just calls that they've gone out on. Were there to have been a loss, that's what it would have been. There have been no vehicle fires this fiscal year, thank goodness. Hopefully we'll keep that. So that shows us a 0 because there has been none. So total number of incidents for the fiscal year, 111 with a 99.92% saved rate there. And then the final breakdown here, again, is a fiscal year number, and this just kind of shows the work. When we think fire department, you think, oh, they're the guys that go to fires, or oh, there he comes when when your granny's not feeling well or her chest hurts or something like that. But the fire department and the police department as well are enormous community partners. They are at every public event that we do in our park. They are on hand for us whenever we need them. They're in schools. They're doing CO2 and fire alarm checks in homes, and wellness checks, all sorts of things. And so those numbers are reflected in this last graphic that you see here. For fiscal year 23, they had 58 car seat checks or car seat education events that have touched 143 people. They've done fire station tours. They do this with school groups, with Girl Scout troops, Boy Scouts. They've done 25 of those with 529 people coming through. And that's not just a tour of the building, they're also teaching them about fire safety while they're there. Community education and events, they've done 22 of those, with that number sitting at 12,784. That's partly so large because that includes our city events, which are big events. School and fire safety education, 6 events, 412 students. Daycare center fire safety education, they've done 3 of those events for 112 children and staff there. And then smoke alarm installer education, they have done 20 of those events and been able to help 13 people. For a total of 134 events, 13,993 people served over that time. So that is what I have. And again, some departments didn't have anything really to present. So if there are any questions about this, then you can pose them to me. I'll try to answer them, or we can get the department head to answer them as well.
I have a question for Chief Generals. The 2 new firefighter positions that we're looking to add, what does that change the structure of your shifts?
There'll be 5 on each shift.
What do we have currently?
We're 4 right now. Y'all approved last year 1 position.
Okay.
That person, once they get you rookie school, will go on 1 of the shifts. 1 shift will have 5, the other 2 shifts currently have 4. We get the 2 positions, each shift would have 5. That would guarantee 2 people on the rescue truck, 3 on an engine, and the 2 people on the rescue truck would be the 2 on the backup engine.
So 3 shifts, 5 apiece.
3 shifts, 5 people. Which I will note this, we've been 4 per shift since 2008. And if you look at the first graph, our call volume has doubled since 2008. And along with everything else.
Is the majority of those calls, are they medical calls?
50% are medical calls.
50%, and I'm putting you on the spot, but of that increase since 2008 is a high percentage of medical call.
The percentage stays about the same.
It says about the same. Half of that is just medical calls that we have to
And
do.
the other half is fire alarms, wrecks, whatever.
Shannon, thank you. Very wonderful presentation. The reason I said that is that previous years, when we talked about the budget, we just threw numbers out there, and we just basically told you this is where we are at fiscally. But I think what I was really wanting to get to here was to give you a picture of really all that we're committed to as a city within the budget that we're living in right now. And to show you that there is growth and there is need for safety, whether it be fire, police, public works, everybody plays a part, and so it's incumbent upon us to protect our citizens doing what we do. So thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you to the department heads that contributed to put your information out there. It is for the public to hear from us what each of the departments are working with and struggling with. So thank you.
Yeah, again, thank you, Shannon, and thank you, department heads, for that information. It's very good. And thank you, tell your folks thank you, because it looks like they're doing significantly more work than they were before. As time has gone by, we've kept almost the same man, but the amount of work has gone up. So
I'm next, so I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I was going,
No, we gotta do the public hearing.
you probably hear it next year.
You got
Oh, just kidding, we moved it, I forgot.
You know, I know the police didn't have anything because they couldn't get the information up, through the systems, because it's all basically controlled by the county. But if you look at the court things here, you can see that there's a big increase in DUIs and a big increase in driving unlicensed suspended. Those are the dangerous ones out there. And I appreciate their efforts in looking at things like that. I also appreciate the 154% increase in warnings that are given. So that's a very good, that's very good for our people out there,
Well,
for our citizens.
you know, and the decrease in dismissals is concerning to me. But when you talk about the increase in warnings, I guess they're getting people to pay attention.
And those are warnings from the court, I believe.
Oh, they are?
Those are not warning tickets.
So they have to be,
No,
These are the adjudications, are those from you or the court?
Some of those warnings are in the court, but some are made by officers when we receive the tickets.
Okay.
If it says warning on it, we enter it as a warning and it's gonna show in that.
okay, so that number.
I would say the majority of those are coming from officers.
And dismissals sometimes happen because some of our officers, they'll have somebody pull over and they'll give them 4 or 5 tickets. Because they're guilty of a lot of things.
Okay.
What the different things are. And the judge will look at it and say, okay, well, I'm going to dismiss this, and this, and charge these other 2 things. So it's not quite as much on the record.
Oh, okay.
So that's, yes, sir.
Also, too, the numbers that were shown from the, those just traffic citations.
Right.
I can go back now because the system look, if we want to see the part 1 and part 2 crimes, those are the aggravated assaults, the, burglaries and everything else that the guys are doing, all of the citations.
that are non-adjudicated by our court.
Yeah. And our courts don't handle anything of that nature. They're going to have an opportunity to go to prison, then they go to state court.
Yes, sir.
So we have to push it up, you know, and things like that go to state court. So that's the same thing for all the cities, you know. They don't have the authority to put anybody in prison.
We can jail
Put 'em in jail.
someone, people can be sentenced to jail,
Right.
but the court is a court of limited jurisdiction. Your serious felonies are not adjudicated in our court. That's fair to say, right, Sarah?
What's like a silly felony, like a serious felony?
Serious.
What, like, if that's, we don't see
That's
serious.
our phrase, a felony is serious.
Is there like a silly one that I'm not aware of?
It's like the double
Well, I mean,
double negative,
Crazy,
So-
wacky
double
felony.
negative and
So
double
let's-
positive.
Let's say someone shoplifts,
$500.
4 times. On the 4th time, it becomes a felony.
Right, but then it would be a high and aggravated felony if they shoot somebody on the way.
Correct.
So
So
it's
what,
It's a
They
good
do
distinction.
have levels.
what state law says
not only
on
shoplifting, but
shoplifting less than a certain
Attempted
dollar
murder.
amount, we have jurisdiction
Body
until
harm.
number 4, and then it's a felony.
assault.
No, we just have a public hearing now. All right, next item here is a public hearing. So I'm gonna go ahead and, close out, city council meeting and open for a public hearing. Public hearing, if anybody has any comments or thoughts, about what was presented here, please raise your hand. Come forward and, yeah, whatever's in the budget, yeah. Please come forward. Your name and address, of course.
My name is Susan Lemmy. I live at 219 Mason Drive. This you can hear, in Centerville, Georgia. And the house has been there since 1964, in my family's hands. First thing I want to say is that I do have some concern after listening to, and I know y'all are not the federal government, but listening to the federal government talk over passing their budget or increasing it, the debt limit. I hope y'all never have to do that. But with increasing the debt limit, it hits me that, and with dealing with a family friend who has been thrown out of their house because they counted money they didn't have, that it would be in their hand any day. I'm somewhat concerned if I hear that ARPA funds that are in this budget may not actually be available. So when you take the two figures from the ARPA funds that are listed in the budget, if I'm reading this correctly, it comes up to about $2.9 million in the ARPA funds, because there's $2 million listed over at special revenue funds.
Yeah, well, I think we're at a little bit of a loss because Ms. Carroll's not here, but I believe that the 2.9 million was the total money we were given by ARPA as a lump
says
sum, and that
2.314
$556,000 is what is left that we haven't spent.
Okay.
Yeah, so
The
we're
fi-
spending
the
that.
500,000
That
is what is not spent.
$566,000 is the balance of those.
And
funds.
and unless they go back to Congress and say, hand us back everything we took, you got that you haven't spent yet, we're okay then for the 500. So that leaves us with about 0.5 to add on to the 2.4 million that you all have said could come from property taxes in this budget. So that concerns me a little bit, but not too much. We're only 0.1 over the budgets from previous years in this. It's not, I'm not seeing $1 million, I'm seeing 100,000 roughly here. 2.4 million is listed as property taxes. And
You're talking about the revenue increase.
the revenue from property taxes. So if you're looking at revenue only from property taxes to try to get up to making up for some of these differences, we're not in ARPA funding, we're not that far different there. But 1 mil, for anybody who doesn't know, is $1 per 1,000 of your property value that you're paying in taxes. So when my property was assessed at $63,000 a few years ago, I multiplied that by 11.7, whatever it was, and so I paid 600 some odd, near $700 in my property taxes to Centerville. I have that a little bit wrong, but I'm trying to do the math in my head real fast. When we increased the property values last year, and I do thank City Council for giving the citizens a break and rolling back that tax rate. You did not actually you did cut the millage rate, but you rolled back to get the income basically that you would have had you not done that, had the values not increased quite as much. But last year I would have been multiplying, instead of $63 per 1,000, I would have been multiplying $72 per 1,000, which is close to a 20% increase in how much I would have been paying on every 1,000. This year, it went from 72 to 87 because of the boom we have had in real estate in this county. And so, if our budget's a little higher, I'm going to come back and say, please consider, if you do have to increase, I know you're increasing from a rolled back rate from last year, because you always go back to the previous year's value. So you were going back to your rolled back rate, which generated not quite the same revenue that you would have anticipated. It's very close though. So consider somewhere in between the highest rates we've paid and the low that we were granted last year. We can't spend money we don't have or don't have a way to know that it will be there. I can't do that at home and y'all can't do that here. And the money has to come from somewhere. The monies that I don't pay in taxes, I sometimes pay in increased service fees, increased rates. Inflation has hit us all this year. Wages have increased and there have been raises granted to city employees, which were, I'm not going to say whether they were, I will say they were deserved. I see all our city employees being responsive to the public, answering our concerns, being available to us, and, I watch TV. I thought y'all had 8 guys pulling those hoses and 5 riding in the, in the front of the truck. Y'all got 4 guys some shifts, okay? That kind of cuts it down, and so I'm glad to hear some of these figures. But as a taxpayer, I like to hear what is being done with these numbers that are here. These numbers don't mean that much for me. What is it going to get? What are our plans for that money? What are we expecting out of that money? This budget is really great for the accountants, but I'd love it if you present to us, we intend to do this with this money. We want to do this with this money, and we want to do that with this money. And I think that I would accept that a little more willingly, even if it did mean a slight increase. You do have a lot of room to work between 10.364 mils and 11.9 mils. So try to keep it on the low side, please, for all those taxpayers who's really got hit with some big increases in property values for what a lot of people who are not even from this area are coming in and paying for homes in this area. But for the people who are set and have been here for years, you can't price us out of our homes and out of this city. This city was built by many of the people as volunteers. And it's nice to be able to be more professional about it. But as you're doing it, consider good budgeting things. I see a combination of what y'all have done this year, some zero-based budgeting and some incremental budgeting. But what has to be done is at some point evaluate on every department what the needs are. Several years ago, I looked back at the police department because they were asking for more employees. They were asking for cars. And I researched standards for police staffing. And I looked at one person, if they have this many days of sick leave and this many days of vacation leave, and how much staffing it would take. And I said, well, I cannot get up and present that number because I can't afford to pay for it. So, to have full coverage for the area you cover and all of this, I couldn't afford to pay for it. So we are doing more with less sometimes, but it doesn't mean that we also have to jump right up to where we used to be with a millage rate that really doesn't equal budget, because budget is one need and millage rate is determined by assessed values of property, which nobody has control over. It goes up and it goes down, and it will go up and down, and seldom do they come back and lower my property values. I can ask them to individually, and I encourage everybody to, if you don't think your property value is fair, go to the tax assessor's office and say, come look at it again. The ceiling's falling in, this needs to be replaced, that's no good. Give me some help. So, again, in meeting the budget for this city, we do have a lot of senior citizens getting exemptions. And at some point, I fully expect, even though I'm not there yet, I'm very close. And I would love to get my full exemption from Centerville City taxes. I think that as a whole, there needs to be some study or consideration to looking at bringing a referendum to the people to modify the senior exemption to have either a residency requirement or to make it a percentage of your property value, not a full exemption. It may bring us more people, but we're getting more people anyhow. We are growing by leaps and bounds. Our streets are so busy. We have to work more to make the monies that we're budgeting and the monies that I am a taxpayer and paying to get even more cooperation between the school board, the county, the city. When we pass the SPLOST, when I vote on the SPLOST this year, I am going to go ask the county, what's going on with Wilson Drive? What's going on? What's going on with this portion of Alberta Road that is cracked and is falling apart? That's been on the SPLOST project list for a long time. If they're not working with you all, then we as the taxpayers need to say, y'all get on our side. We might be the smallest city, but what do you want us to do? Put a toll booth on Wilson and let everybody from outside the city pay this to go down it? I mean, we can't do that.
Stop just for a second. Wilson Drive should be starting very soon.
It's in progress now. The county is
Right.
they're actually designing the project, both Wilson and Alberta. Engineers got a year to finish designing the project, and then we'll move to right-of-way acquisition, and then it'll be started. It was in this year's SPLOST, so that's why they're just beginning 2018 SPLOST. We're getting it at the end of the year, but in the next year, you'll be seeing their turn on both.
If it wasn't for that culvert down there in the bottom, it would be a lot
easier project.
Well, yeah.
The Alberta Road, we're going.
And the intersection of
paved
Alberta and Wilson, that's a big part of it.
No roundabout.
It's a real possibility.
I don't like the roundabouts.
Also, we're going to pave that section of Alberta that's in the city.
Yeah.
It's being paved probably the next few months.
It'll be resurfaced by October, yes, sir.
Well, that's great to hear, because, you know, we did vote for that SPLOST nicely, and we want it to come to some of our projects as well. And I know we've gotten some roads out of it in various places, and had to mess with a lot of streets that have water under them and things like that, that kind of took monies ahead of it.
Yeah, this street out here was one of them.
Right.
It actually ran over budget.
The other thing I want to bring up is that I looked at the CPI for the last year, effective through April. And the largest increase that I saw, gratefully, I guess, for those who are retired, was that the Social Security cost of living went up 8.7%, their increase in their Social Security average, I'm going to guess that is. But as far as other expenses, services less than energy that you get to pay for, 6.8%, 7.7% for food at home, and 6% away from home. You know, so let's not aim for the 100%. Let's kind of keep it down there around the inflation rate. And when we're making contracts with people and trying to buy services from people, if at all possible, do what I have to do. Can we kind of look for things that don't increase cost more than the cost of living, average cost of living? For some of the people with dumpsters and things like that, cost have increased as much as 40% on their dumpster pickup fees. And that's a lot of increase for a small business or any size business. So we can't balance a budget on services and charges for services, and we need relief from all our properties that are taking our resources. So there's a lot of things I'm asking you to consider, in addition to the budget, to making this a long-term solution budget, not just let's get it passed and go with it. I totally understand that we have needs for services, but I also ask for efficiency in those services and in the people that we deal with.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, is anybody else? Okay, we're going out of public session, and now back to your council meeting. Next item on here is the form of information, Center Park fence installation.
Now you're up again, Shannon.
Now it's my turn again.
Right.
Hello. This is just a quick point of information. We have entered into an agreement with National Fence Services LLC to install a 4-foot vinyl chain link fence around the filtration tank. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's the big green dome in the ground at the park. It has become a point of kind of some safety concerns, and so we wanted to make sure that we were doing all that we could to keep that a safe space.
Kids go jump up and down on it.
And roll all over it and fly off of it like Superman and everything else. So to keep it from being broken and also to keep people safe, we have entered into a contract to install that fence there. The reason that we're doing this point of information tonight is just because we consider this an emergency purchase. There is money in the budget. It'll be coming out of the parks repairs and maintenance line item. We do have money for it, but we just wanted to inform council. Also, if you see activity happening in the park, we wanted you to know what that was. So we do expect that installation will hopefully be happening this week. We've been told it will be this week for a few weeks, so hopefully this week, it may be next week. But it should be a one-day project, I would think, one-day project and done. So once it's done, you'll see it there. It won't be a hazard or anything like that. It'll just create kind of that safe space. And we just wanted to let you know.
Okay, thank you very much for all of that.
You're welcome.
All right, we're gonna start on the council members. On the most
Well, I'd like to thank Rolling Thunder for all their patriotism and all the wonderful things they do in our community in Houston County, as well as in Centerville. Mayor, thank you for bringing the Centerville Rotary Club in to explain the great program that they have. It really truly represents what the spirit of the Rotary Club is and all the great things that they do in our community. And we thank them. Again, Shannon, thank you for putting together that briefing. I think that it's definitely nothing wrong with sharing with everyone in our community. Hopefully we'll put it out on the website for others to be able to pull down and read as well about what we do as a city and our constraints. Farmers Market was incredible. Had a great time. It's growing. We've got a lot of vendors out there. Had a great time. They have yoga out there, as well as Food Truck Friday. I don't know if anybody, I think some of you went to Food Truck Friday, but it was so. Did you go?
I have a comment to make.
Okay. All right. So I'll just say it's a wonderful Food Truck Friday, and let the rest of the council comment on it. I had a great time, and so that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Councilman Evans?
Yes, sir. So, I'd like to, ditto everything that Councilman Armijo said. And then I'd like to add, thank you to the citizens that came out tonight to the meeting to hear about the budget discussions and participate in the public hearing. We appreciate your efforts. And, also, I do want to say that I did go to Food Truck Friday, and I stayed for a while, and I decided to leave and go somewhere else to get something to eat because the line was so long. You know, so it's been a great success. I actually, for myself, it's been more of a success than I thought it would be when we started. So that's one of the great events that we put on for our citizens in our city, in the park that we provided for them, because that was their desire. So that'll be it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Wright? I'm good, Mayor. Councilman Wright?
Yeah, on the topic of Food Truck Friday, I have to echo Councilman Evans. My wife and I came out to Food Truck Friday, and we had a nice stroll around the park, and we didn't get any food because the lines were so long, the park was so crowded, and it was so oppressive. And not only that, every time we have driven by the splash pad, just countless kids playing in that splash pad, and it's just been so much of a success. Have to congratulate all the employees who have made this possible and thank the community for coming out. I know they're not all Centerville residents. It's just not possible with the crowds that we had that they were all Centerville residents. The rest of the local community for coming out. I wanted to address a couple of things that Ms. Lemmy said. I agree with the vast majority of it. Point about employee raises, I just have to say, I feel like our employees are so above and beyond what we could ask for. Honestly, I am, unless it's just completely irresponsible, I'm going to be in favor of any sort of increase in compensation for our employees. I don't feel like they get what they deserve. We have some some departments that have problems with retention, and those are things that we need to address seriously, especially if we are growing. There was one other item, but it slipped my mind. But it was thank you, Ms. Lee, for coming out and speaking. You had a lot of good points, and I'll just say the millage rate issue will be addressed in the future, a few months from now, and I agree with a lot of what you said about that. As far as the budget goes, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's a wait and see. We'll see what the final thing looks like. Everybody had good points. Maybe some of them could have been made a little more diplomatically, but that happens when you have five personalities come together. You're gonna every now and then have a clash. I don't think that it's going to be a long-term issue. That's all I have.
Well, thank you very much. I want to make clear, when he was talking about the millage rate, we cannot do anything about the millage rate, can't even talk about it really, until sometime in July when the county will give us what they say we're going to get. Then we have to look at it then. That's the point where we start talking about it and make a decision afterwards. I wish we could, I don't know why we can't do this beforehand. That's always been a thing of mine. Let us know what's going to be before we balance the budget. So we have a good idea what's going on, but they can't do it. And I thank you too. You're right, Councilman Byrd, about all the people coming out into the park. Part of that park was built with SPLOST money. And when it was put out there, I said, this is SPLOST money, and guess who paid for it? Taxpayers of Houston County. I said, so everybody is welcome. Come over here and enjoy it with us. We appreciate it. And that's what they've been doing. And I get a lot of great comments about it. Even the mayor of Warner Robins, she says she loves to bring her son over there. He has so much fun. So he's the right age for him too. Yeah. Other than that, everybody have a great day. See y'all later. Thank you so much. Council's over.